Welcome back to The Executive and the Republic, where we uncover the stories behind America's earliest leaders and how they shaped the nation. In today's episode, we're diving into the life of John Adams, the second president of the United States. You may know him as one of the founding fathers, but there's so much more to his story. Let's explore the highs, the lows, and the lasting legacy of John Adams. Stick around. It's going to be a fascinating journey. John Adams. He's a name that often follows George Washington in history books, but his story is full of challenges, debates, and hard-fought victories that helped define America's early years. Born in 1735 in Massachusetts, Adams wasn't just any lawyer or politician. He was fiercely independent and deeply committed to the idea of American freedom. Adams's journey to the presidency didn't begin in a time of peace. He came of age during a period of growing unrest in the American colonies, and he quickly found himself drawn into the fight for independence. As a brilliant lawyer and writer, Adams became one of the strongest voices for independence from Britain. In fact, it was John Adams who played a crucial role in helping Thomas Jefferson draft the Declaration of Independence in 1776. But while the Revolutionary War ended in victory, the work was far from over. America needed more than just independence. It needed structure. Adams, a dedicated public servant, spent years working behind the scenes to help build the foundation of the new government. But even with all that work, John Adams wasn't always the most popular figure. You see, Adams was known for being outspoken, opinionated, and a bit prickly in his debates. But this never stopped him from standing up for what he believed was right. When George Washington decided to step down after 2 terms as president, the 1796 election saw John Adams step into the spotlight. He narrowly won the election, becoming the second president of the United States. However, his victory also set the stage for one of the country's first major political divides. Adams belonged to the Federalist Party, which believed in a strong central government. On the other side were the Democratic Republicans, led by Thomas Jefferson, who believed in more power for the states and a smaller national government. The tension between these two sides only grew during Adams's presidency, and it wasn't long before these differences led to fierce debates and even outright conflict. So, what were the major challenges of Adams's presidency? Well, let's talk about the Quasi-War, a conflict with France that erupted during Adams's time in office. It wasn't a full-blown war, but tensions were high. Adams had to navigate a tricky diplomatic situation to avoid turning a Cold War into a hot one. While many of his Federalist peers wanted a war with France, Adams resisted. Instead, he sent diplomats to negotiate a peaceful solution. This decision wasn't popular, but in hindsight, it may have been one of the most important choices of his presidency. But Adams's time in office wasn't without controversy. One of the most divisive moments came with the passage of the Alien and Sedition Acts in 1798. These laws made it harder for immigrants to become U.S. citizens and made it illegal to criticize the government. Adams believed these acts were necessary to protect the young nation from foreign threats, but many saw them as an attack on free speech. The backlash was swift, and these acts became a rallying point for Adams's political opponents, especially Thomas Jefferson. As Adams's presidency continued, the political climate grew more intense. The 1800 election was bitter, with Adams facing off against his old friend and now political rival, Thomas Jefferson. In a heated campaign, Jefferson won, and Adams became the first U.S. president to peacefully transfer power to an opposing party. While the election was tough for Adams personally, this peaceful transfer of power became a cornerstone of American democracy. After leaving office, Adams retired to his farm in Massachusetts. Although he lived the rest of his life largely out of the public eye, he remained deeply connected to the nation he had helped create. His correspondence with Thomas Jefferson, once his rival, turned into one of the great friendships of American history. They wrote letters to each other for years, reflecting on their roles in the Revolution and the birth of the United States. John Adams may not have had the same towering popularity as George Washington, but his legacy is just as important. His courage to make tough decisions, even when they were unpopular, helped guide the nation through some of its earliest and most difficult years. From his role in the Revolution to his efforts to keep America out of war with France, John Adams left a mark on the presidency that would influence future leaders for generations. And that's the story of John Adams, the second president who navigated through controversy and